All-Star Fruit Racing is a kart racer where everything in the game is based on, well, fruit. Every character, vehicle, and special move represents a different kind of fruit. Levels are designed around fruit, and even the load screens are filled with fun facts about fruit. It's not a bad gimmick, and the game takes full advantage of it. With 4 islands and over 20 beautifully rendered tracks, you get a sense that a lot of the work went into the art design of the game, and I was impressed by just how beautiful the world looked and sounded. A couple of levels stood out more than others, with their winding roads that gelled nicely with the game's admittedly rigid drift mechanics. When you're aggressively snaking left and right, cutting off opponents, and perfectly timing the release of your power slide to get the most out of a speed boost, All-Star Fruit Racing can be pretty exhilarating. But unfortunately, the game's controls always feel at least a little bit off, especially when compared to other kart racers. Your car seems disconnected from the world that it's in. Handling feels floaty as you drive around. You barely interact with your surroundings, including other cars. There's no noticeable effect on your speed when driving off the track. Landing from a jump lacks any convincing bounce or sound effect to emphasize the impact with the road. Crashing into other cars has no effect outside of gently nudging them in the direction that you were going. And worst of all, getting hit with an item seems more like someone has hit your brakes rather than the devastating feeling of getting knocked out that we've come to expect. Shooting items yourself can feel even worse. There's no indication of whether a power-up will fire in front of you or behind you, and there's no way to control it like you could with a shell or a banana in Mario Kart. Some of them also lack sound effects, which totally takes the oomph out of a clean hit. Combat lacks a visceral impact, and that's a big problem. These issues, taken individually, may seem minor in the grand scheme of things, but altogether they add up to a racer that's a bit hollow to play. It's almost as if the minimum requirements for a kart racing game were built, and then the rest of their time and energy was spent on level design rather than fine-tuning the fundamentals of how it feels to play. Which I'll admit left us with some pretty spectacular looking stages, but it's almost to the game's detriment, because when something looks this aesthetically pleasing, the lack of polish when you're actually holding the controller stands out even more. What I'm saying is that games that look this good usually play better than this. With loads of characters, stages, and vehicle customizations to unlock, the progression system is pretty solid. If you're not feeling the character-themed vehicles, you can always customize your own kart by choosing from 3 body sizes, applying patterns, color schemes, tire treads, and little antenna toppers of your choosing. But even with all these customization options, the vehicles look more or less the same. I don't know, it's not nearly as robust as it seems at first, and I didn't notice a difference in the way that any of the cars handled. There's a lot of nitpicky issues that I have with this game, and rather than explaining them all in great detail, let's just rapid fire through some of them real quick. First up, what's the deal with these character models? The art for each of them looks great, and I couldn't wait to unlock some of them until I inevitably saw them in game and whoa, what the hell happened? Almost everybody looks horrifying. Why does every race have to start with a cringy and way too loud voiceover that spikes the mic?
Let's go! Super duper!
Who decided that upon completing a race it would be a cool idea to awkwardly stare at your character sitting in their car while the camera swings wildly left and right until the rest of the racers show up? Why does the game ask if you want to either go to the main menu or retry the race upon completing a Grand Prix, instead of just cutting to the trophy ceremony? It's never clear how many races are left, and this screen does a terrible job of making it not feel like you're about to back out of an ongoing championship. Why does the trophy ceremony consist of a bunch of sound effects just slapped together seemingly at random? Why did you choose this font? Why? These seem like simple things to fix, quirky little issues that should have been addressed during development, you know? Going into this review, I didn't expect All-Star Fruit Racing to be in the same league as a Mario Kart. It's safe to assume that 3D Clouds didn't have the limitless resources and decades of experience that Nintendo would. But the trailers and screenshots seen in the marketing material showed a level of production value that gave me hope that this may be one of those games that understood what the genre was all about, and would at the very least be a competent kart racer with great art direction. And it mostly fits that bill, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't have any fun with this game. It's inherently satisfying to drift and boost your way through a colorful world. It's just that there's a serious lack of polish where it counts, and there are far too many bizarre choices throughout for this to be anything more than a game that I would recommend at a reduced price. And it's a real shame too, because looking at what's here, they were damn close to having something really great, and some of these tracks were so good that they'd fit nicely along the likes of a Mario Kart. Maybe 3D Clouds can patch some of the problems with this game, and maybe there'll be a bigger emphasis on making the karts feel like they're actually there in the sequel or something. But as it stands, All-Star Fruit Racing gets a 2 out of 5.